So tonight we're remembering Mehera. She, back in May 20th, that means 2 days back, she kind of slipped into Baba's arms, and that was 33 years ago. She survived Baba by 20 years after Baba had dropped his body. As you know, Baba said that she was his very breath, the purest soul in the universe, and the one who loved him as he should be loved, and the feminine counterpart of the avatar. And I'm hoping that, many of you have met Baba, met Mehera, and I'm, inviting people to share those experiences. And there are some who haven't met Baba, but yet feel her presence in their lives, similar to the way the Catholics feel in their lives the love and support of Mary, the mother of Jesus. So I'm hoping that you folks will freely share. And before we begin, Jaysima is going to play a video, something that was put together by Larry Green.
Oh. Sound?
No, the sound isn't there.
It's Larry.
Jaysima's going to try to get the sound. It's Jamie Newell's song is the soundtrack.
You are not able to hear the sound?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll share it again.
Seems that he's close.
You've heard this? Larry Green's version of Mehera, how in what manner do you love him?
Mehera, in what manner do you love him?
Beautiful.
That your hold on to him is so strong. We who have just come to know him, it is for this love that we long. For of all his lovers in creation, it seems that he's closest to you. Mehera, won't you tell us how you love him, so that we might love him that way too? Well, he came as if an angel sent from heaven, but we found it rather hard to learn that this angel sent from heaven had himself turned out to be God. Now a simple heart breaks when one thinks of mistakes made in a moment so weak. And faced with this task, we now come to ask help towards this goal that we seek. So tell us, Mehera, in what manner do you love him? And what makes your love so pure that there is no hardship or suffering for him that you would not endure? We who have never been with him still long for a so true. So Mehera, won't you tell us how you love him, so that we might love him that way too. Well, there's a mist on the field in the morning, but the sun comes to burn it all off, just as the mist of our clouded imaginations is removed by the warmth of his love, and we see all around his love shining down direct from the heavens above. And we grow close, but yet, as close as we get, we never can get close enough. So tell us, Mehera, in what manner do you love him? For it's really not so hard to tell, for we see it when you look at his picture. Your eyes seem to show us so well. And though it might be rude of us asking, but really, what else could we do? For Mehera, if we knew how you love him, then we might love him that way too.
Beautiful, yeah. And I see even Tony Peterniti was in there too. So I thought maybe I would start out. I happened to be in India when Mehera passed on. I'd gone there in the fall of 1988, and at the end of my pilgrimage, Eric said to come back in March 15th. Which was kind of a little bit unusual, and I think for 3 months. So I got permission to, from the center to stay on there, and they had work at Meherazad. But this is the summer months, so there were practically nobody at Meherazad, just a handful. Most of the Westerners had gone back to the West, to visit family or work on their visas and all that. So there were just a few of us. It was very hot. Nothing was happening at Meherazad, but they had, except there were some work projects. And one of the things I was doing was working on that tin shed next to Baba's tomb, and then we were doing renovation in the tomb itself. And so I was there, and I would go out to Meherazad from time to time to see Erich or Bal Natu and working on projects. And then early May, word came, an invitation came from the women mandali to come out to Meherazad, and there were just a few of us, to say goodbye to the women mandali who were going to Pune for their 3-week vacation that they had every year. So we're there, we're at the main house, and Mehera and the women are on the porch, and we're wishing them a wonderful vacation. Like I say, just a few of us, and Mehera greeted each one of us. And as I've said, sometimes when she would look at me with those loving eyes, my whole body would glow. I would feel it, you know. I mean, there was so much love that would come from her. But we weren't told, at least I didn't, I had no idea that she was ill at the time. I think they may have kept that from people knowing, because there might have been a surge of people wanting to be with her at the end. So I had no idea. And so as we were leaving, Mehera asked me to renovate the porch, the walls on that porch. And so I started working on it. And the wall was really in bad shape and required incredible plastering. And I was frantic to try to get it done within the 3 weeks before the women came back. And I just barely got it done with these couple of fellows, a couple of the servant boys. And then I went back to Meherazad, and I resumed work. I don't know whether it was a week or a few days later or a week later. I was in the place where I was staying, was in that little compound behind the Mandali Hall at Lower Meherazad. And this is after lunch. I'm just kind of relaxing, and this car comes screaming into the compound, racing, and it's Jal Dastur, and he's yelling out the window, "Meher has gone to Baba, Meher has gone to Baba," and makes a U-turn and takes off, and he goes and to all the other places at Meherazad. And so I was in shock. I had, like I say, I had no idea that she was ill. And so after some time, the few of us who were there, we were kind of expecting that several hundred people would be there the next day. So Alan Wagner was the one to kind of look after the food and the refreshments, and Ted Judson was doing some of the physical arrangements on the hill. And I don't know, someone asked me to work on Mehera's tomb, the grave, to kind of clean it, clear it out and everything. Some of the men from the village had dug out the grave, and there was a pile of earth about 50 feet away. So I spent the whole afternoon kind of making it nice around her grave site, and I went down in trying to. The bottom of the grave was all uneven, so I got sand in there, and I made it so that when we lowered the casket, it would be flat, level. You know, the casket would lie flat. So I was there. You know, I was thinking, what, you know, I grew up in 4408 North Stevens, Tacoma, Washington. Who would have ever thought that I would be here on the tomb of Baba's beloved? I mean, it just, I couldn't quite grok it. I couldn't quite fathom it. There was nobody else around. There were just a few of us, so everybody had to do something. So anyway, toward the afternoon, word came from Meherazad for inviting us to come out and view Mehera's body in Mandali Hall. So we got on our motorcycles. We had these huge motorcycles, these Rajdoot motorcycles, and we took off across the countryside, and the sun in the west was just going down, and a full moon was coming up in the east. I don't think I had ever seen such a phenomenon. But apparently when Buddha was born, that was the phenomenon, and when he got enlightened, that was, and when he passed on, it was that same solar kind of a lunar kind of a phenomenon. Anyway, so we're heading across east, really into the full moon, and as the moon is gradually coming up, and we got to the place where, kind of about 2.5 miles from Meherazad, and it's evening, and there is this just this serene quality pervading the whole countryside. And I mean, it was like so, I mean, I could feel it from, and it was like, and the thought that crossed me mind was, this it was like Bethlehem on the morning when Jesus was born. It had that hallowed atmosphere. And as we headed down off the Pimplegown Road, it felt more and more like I was going to get dissolved. I mean, as I got closer, it felt like me and the motorcycle were going to dissolve. It was so refined, the atmosphere. And finally, we got to the approach road to Meherazad, and we parked the motorcycles, and we were ushered into Mandali Hall. When I came into Mandali Hall, I was like shocked, because Mehera was there, you know, with an open coffin in front of Baba's chair, and she looked like she was just asleep. I mean, she was almost like she was breathing, and she looked like she was like less than 30 years old. Even though she was like in her 80s, she looked so young. I mean, other people said that too. I mean, it was, and so serene. And so we sat in there. There were just not many, and the women mandali would come in and out. They were in grief. And at one point, Heather and Erica were there, and Heather started singing some of these. Instead of singing the Baba songs, we started singing these old classic love songs. You know, like for example, it's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me, oh no. It's just the nearness of you. I mean, it was those types of songs, and they all came alive because these songs were kind of about Baba and Mehera. I hadn't really thought of it in that way. Anyway, we were there for a good while. I have no idea how long we were there. I have no idea how we got back in the night back to Meherazad. But anyway, the next day, several hundred people gathered on the hill, and Mehera's body was brought up, in the coffin, was brought up on that platform next to the tomb. And people came up and paid their respects. You know, what big line of people doing that. I did that, and after maybe an hour or something, I kind of wandered over the tomb, and almost immediately Mehera's casket was being brought in, and they needed somebody on the inside of the tomb to receive the casket, you know, and I happened to be there, you know, so and David Fenster, so we were on the inside, and we laid the casket down in front of Baba's, where you bow down, and I made to leave, and Mani said, no, stay. So I stayed in there. I mean, I kind of felt, since Kitty couldn't be there, at least somebody from the center could be there. And they did the prayers and the arti, and then her body was brought around to the, you know, where she's laid to rest. And they had these decorative ropes, and there were 4 of us, and we had kind of practiced lowering the casket into the grave. And then Mani kind of dropped some soil from Baba's grave, and various things she was throwing in over the casket. And then thousands upon thousands and thousands of flowers were thrown on the coffin. I mean, and eventually just filled the coffin up to the brim just with flowers. And then Baba's twin nephews, Sorab and Rustam, they got these buckets, these gamelas. And they would 2 lines were formed. They would fill the buckets, and they would be passed, maybe 50 people from the mound of earth to the tomb, and then we would empty them in there, and we'd give the empty gamela to the next line, the other line, and then it would go all the way up. Men, women, and children, all part of this. And the 2 nephews Rustam and Sorab sang this chant, a very powerful chant. Everybody joined in. It was probably in Hindi or Marathi. I couldn't follow it, but it was very powerful. Everybody got into it. And we were doing this, and this went on for about 45 minutes until the tomb, the grave was filled up, a mound was made, flowers were put there, and people, but I should say that I'm witnessing this, and I know this is like something cosmic is happening. This is the beloved of the beloved being buried, and I had just the keyhole awareness on this thing, consciousness. I could not it was so large I couldn't fathom it at all. You know, I was just, I just didn't have that breadth and width, depth. Anyway, so people paid their respects, then they went into Baba's tomb, and people were saying that they would go in and there was a photograph of Baba at the back, and Baba's photograph would be there, and then Mehera's face would appear, and then Baba's face would there, and back and forth, Baba Mehera. And it hadn't happened with any of the other mandali that I know of. And so eventually everybody the hill was vacated, everybody went down the hill, and that was my experience of the whole hillside was covered with people, and I know the women mandali, when I saw them, they at Meherazad, they were just all so subdued, you know, all kind of quiet, in a state of resignation and grief, you might say. But anyway, so that was what I experienced, thanks to Erich. Yeah. So anyway, anybody want to share anything about their times with Mehera? Feel free. Well, let's see.
All right, I'll start us off, Jeff.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I, of course, had met Mehera many times as a child when I first met Baba in 1962 at the East-West Gathering, and then again in 1965. And at that darshan, after we had bowed down to Baba in the little room in Guru Prasad, Baba told us Karachi lovers to go and meet with the women mandali on the veranda at Guru Prasad. So we all went there, and all the women mandali were sitting there. And at one point, Mehera turns to me and asks me to sing a song. Well, here's this very shy, introverted child who was quite daunted at the prospect of singing to Mehera and the mandali. But of course, you know, I couldn't turn her down. I couldn't not sing. So, and nothing would enter my mind. It was a complete blank. So what to do? So finally, this one song pops into my head that I had just learned at school. And I sang this, the Negro spiritual, Sweet Chariot, Take Me Home. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. That's right. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. That's the one song that entered my head. So I sang the few bars that I knew, and Mehera was quite pleased. She thanked me, and that was my first close-up experience with her. And then years later, when after marriage, we had gone on a family trip to visit Baba's tomb, and with the women mandali, we ended up on the porch, of course, my children, myself. She, that was the time I was, actually I was pregnant with my second child, who was our son, Darius, at the time. So I was pregnant there 5 months, and I remember being on the porch with the women first and visiting with all of them. And then at one point, Mehera just took me by the hand and took me inside. And she knew I was pregnant. So she put her hand on my stomach, and then she looked up at Baba's photo right there with her hand still on my stomach. And she said something, she said a prayer, or she sort of communicated with Baba. And then she turned to me again, and I thanked her for whatever. and we had a beautiful boy who is now a father of two himself. So I felt very blessed in that moment. And to your point, what you just related, Jeff, with your experience of going to see Mehera after she had passed, I had not known this, that she looked so young. The physical transformation that took place after she had gone to Baba. And I received this, I also have, I sort of have group text with my Karachi group. And this is what I received the other day, which is titled Divine Marriage. And I'll read that. It's written by Baba lover by the name of Rustam Falahati. I don't know if you've heard of him. Okay. And I was really amazed to read, but it goes to what you just spoke to. So I'll read it. He says, in the year 1989, when Mehera passed away, I was sailing on the ship. The news broke my heart, and I decided to quit my career, for I wanted to live with those who had lived with the God-man. When I came home on leave, I phoned up my friends, for I wanted more information about Mehera's passing away. One of Baba's Pune family members, who is a fast friend of mine, conveyed to me some startling news. She said to me, Rustam, you will not believe this. We went for Mehera's funeral, and it was amazing. Baba's presence was all over the place and all around her. In fact, she was radiating it. The mind-boggling thing is that Mehera's features and her physical appearance had changed so completely that she was looking like an 18-year-old girl. It was the most beautiful face that I have ever seen. Thinking that she was probably exaggerating, I tried collecting more information from other friends and was surprised to get similar information. One of my friends commented, she was looking like an 18-year-old bride. And why not? It was the real union for her with her beloved. It so happened that before Mehera passed away, she had asked Mani to ensure that no one should take her photograph after she passed away. Mani herself was taken by the transformation that had come over Mehera. One particular resident said to me that Mani herself wished that she could have photographed the unbelievable and impossible transformation. She regretted having given Mehera the promise, but since she had promised her, she implemented it. A few people who came with cameras were instructed about this restriction and made to comply. A Baba lover, Tom Fortson, who happened to be a male nurse, was also around at that time. Tom came every summer for several years to help out during the quiet time, when most residents go on vacation. He was invited to Meherazad to help the medical staff. Although men were not allowed to touch Mehera, Tom was often called in to replace the IV bottle for Mehera, who had gone into a coma during her final days. He shared with me the following. I was called in to change the IV bottles. She was in a coma and really looked like an old, dying lady. As a male nurse, I have worked around so many people in their dying moments, and she looked no different. But when she passed away, the transformation which happened in her body was a medical miracle. It was not that she was only radiating the inner beauty, but there was an outer physical transformation that had taken place in her body. She was no longer looking like an old lady. Her sagging face had disappeared. The skin had become supple and tight, just like that of a young girl. When he finished, I remembered Mani's comment about the whole incident. She is finally united with her divine beloved. It was something which she longed for. In fact, the only longing of her life was that. On that day, the divine marriage had taken place. Jai Baba.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
He was one of the he was one of the three of us that took those motorcycle out there.
Is that right? I was wondering who the others were.
Yeah, myself.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
Jai
Yeah,
Baba.
I hadn't read that.
Prakash, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Oh, I mean, I have something I've seen recently in one of the Glow magazines, and that caught my interest. I thought I'll just read that regarding Mehera. Small stories that Money narrates in this article called The Joy of Reunion. So, I mean, I'm not reading the whole thing, obviously, but a little bit of it here that makes, that's interesting. So, Mani says, Mehra always looked forward to the evening ice cream visits from Gulnar and Mehrnaz, sometimes accompanied by Ericha's sister, Manu, on the private little lawn in front of our cottage. This is what is happening in Pune. From here, Mehra would watch at a distance the stream of people dressed in a variety of fashions and colors going in and out of the nearby library, or a large bullock cart rolling by with a regular load of ice for parties held at the club. They were at this Gymkhana club, where they have the race course and all that stuff. So she further goes, to the end of our stay, our ice cream sessions were followed by a regular little walk up and down the lawn before Arti. This was remembered by us with deep nostalgia on our return to Meherazad, when we watched Mehra's physical movements becoming speedily restricted day by day, from walking by herself to being supported by others more and more, from being helped down the steps to being practically lifted down to using beloved Baba's little wheelchair for moving about indoors, and for outdoors using the big one, which we wheeled right into the TV room for video session. She was ever happily ready to attend these film shows at any time, but by now we were not sure how much she took in. And I'll just end this with this little thing that several times over the years, I have heard Mehera relate how much she had put this or that, or the things that she had to do. Baba said to her, don't worry, remembering me is what matters. It doesn't matter what else you forget. I think she was mentioning this because she developed this, the problem of not being able to remember things, aphasia or something they name it. So again, let me read that. Don't worry, remembering me is what matters. It doesn't matter what else you forget, as long as you remember me. Remembering Baba was, of course, so natural for Mehera, but during this sickness, which we were first made aware of by the sudden and unnatural degree of her forgetfulness, when she couldn't remember our names and failed to name simple objects most familiar to her, her remembrance of him was strong and clear as a church bell, surfacing from her heart to reach all who were with her. Not only was her beloved's name on her lips at every excuse, but she remembered every word of the Parvartigar prayer and Pujave Nar Arti, which we sang together in Baba's room for as long as she was able to be moved about in her little wheelchair. It just goes on. Many talks about the final moments as well, but I guess I'll stop here. Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had hadn't even was that Mani's diary?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
It's an article in Glow magazine. I'm sure it's in one of the books, but the title is The Joy of Reunion.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Prakash, could you read a little bit more from where you just left off about the final days of Mehera, please?
Oh, okay. There was a little more, so let me see. So it further goes, the mention of Baba's name or the sight of his pictures were reminders of Baba's stories that she had told others, and which were now being fed back to her by the ones tending to her. It was as food for her heart, which in turn refreshed and nourished her body, as could be seen by the glowing expression of interest and pleasure on her face. Nothing else won such response from her. Every day, Mehera would look through the book of Baba's beautiful photos, Love Personified, that's a book, kissing each picture and caressing it with gentle hand. She was only his and only for him to the end. And let me just, now that you mentioned that final thing, oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. And so, I mean, I guess it just goes on, but I'll probably read this and stop. As therapy for aphasia, I guess, unable to remember things, and I guess speech lessons were instituted, and Mehera's one-pointed attention in trying to relearn simple words was very touching. As Heather describes it, she would concentrate so fixedly on trying to say cup, and then come out with how extraordinary. I just can't get it. That's what I think Mehera would say. In each attempt, invariably, the word she would get first would be Baba, with tenacity. Mehera did manage to relearn a few simple words, which pleased her very much, and she would look forward to her lessons. Many Baba lovers entertained Mehera at this time with their singing on tape. We played tapes of her favorite Baba songs, and also Indian favorites like Mirabai, Begum Akhtar, and others. Simple games like Ludo won giggles and smiles from her, and we would play animatedly with Mehera, taking her turn and watching the others progress with much interest. In the evening, the trip across the garden to the TV room for TV sessions was a favorite event of the day, most favorite being the arti sung together on the porch, which is why at the feeding time, when we wished to arouse her from her deep sleep, we would resort to calling out, "Time for arti," and she always responded to it. Jai Baba. And it just goes on. Sorry, I mean, I can take all the time and keep reading this, but if anybody is interested, I can send the source of this article, The Joy of Reunion.
Yeah, thank you, Prakash. Beautiful. Yeah.
Rainy? Rainy?
I thought I'd tell a couple of sweet stories of Mehera. I first met Mehera in 1973 and we were very fond of one another. I have over 50 letters from Mehera. Some of them, of course, were all to do with my disabled daughter, trisomy 21 woman, baby, child, but often just the news she thought of to tell people and people around us. But one funny story is this. And we're up at the tomb with the women. I think it was like 1987. And here you see this amazing photograph. Franietta is in Mehera and the women's car, up the hill near the water tower. Well, she saw the women, Mehera get in there, so she got in there next. And then the other women got in next to her. And right when this photo's being taken, someone's saying, "I'm taking a photo." So she's bending down so they can get their photo. But other people are telling her to get out. She's not budging. Next thing, Mehera's hand comes down from that wave round Franny, and she's not letting her get out. Nothing doing. So she says, you run down the hill and meet us down the hill, and we'll drive her down to the MPC for a snack and tea after having been Women's Day at the tomb. So I run down and I'm waiting, and they're setting the table up and everyone's getting anxious. Have they had a crash? Where are they? 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, no car, no women, no child. And I'm thinking, oh, what if she's naughty and she's still in that car? Maybe they forgot and they took her all the way to Meherazad. I'll have to get rickshaw over and get her from Meherazad. What is happening? There were no cell phones or no way to tell anybody anything. Well, it turns out that the railway gates were either stuck or stuck shut, and they were all in the car with Franny. So when they did finally arrive at the MPC, they were telling us about how they taught her songs and little hand gestures, told her stories, and she'd bar and moo, and and she really can speak much better than people think, and they're telling me all this stuff. And they all came in and arrived for tea eventually, with Franietta and me anxiously waiting for her. So we have this gorgeous photo that Sheila Krinsky happened to take of the moment, which made me remember it all at a later date. Another time,
a big smile on Mara's face there too.
yeah, she was tickled pink. They were going to have a child for 20 minutes all to themselves without anybody watching them and playing and being childlike. Apparently it was stunning in that car. Anyway, Mani, Mera, Meru, and I think Anavaz in the front. Anyway, another time they got wind of the fact that Franietta slept in full lotus position on her side. And they wanted proof of this. They wanted to see this for themselves. So they timed their coming down on Women's Day from the top to the bottom when it was nap time, so they could look in the window of W1 and see Franny in full lotus sleeping on her side. So the little curtains I had were pushed back, and they're all, oh my God, must have been Yogini. Look at that. She can sleep soundly on her side in full lotus position with her legs crossed. Another amazing story, which Judith documents a similar, there were two of these stories, so she documents one of them. But it was my birthday, 24th of January, and Mehera asked myself and Garbett and somebody else round to the kitchen to eat the leftovers of their lunch for my birthday. So it was lamb, a curry dish, incredibly hot, saag, incredibly hot, paneer, so hot you can't believe, because Mehera's taste had gone when she had the crash. Her sense of taste was damaged, so everything had to be very spicy and very hot for her to taste anything. And some yogurt, and for dessert there was a custard, a colostrum custard of the cow's first milk, a green custard with pistachio and vanilla, and delicious. So Judith took a little taste and said, I can't possibly eat anything that hot. So Mehera just brings the dish, and I go to, there was no spoon or anything, and she picked the lamb up and she kept putting it into my mouth. It was so hot, there was no way I was going to say a word. Not a word came out of my mouth. I don't know how I disciplined myself, but in it kept going. It's so nice, she said. Isn't it delicious? Oh, it is the best. You can taste it so nicely. And I'm going, yes, but tears are actually running down the outside corners of my eyes. It was so hot. And then we had saag with paneer. And then we had this custard. I had never had anything like colostrum custard. It's the first milk from the cow. And she said, so now what I want you to do is to feed this to yourself and to Franny. Particularly the colostrum custard, because this meal I would slip to Baba in the last year as often as I could to keep him alive. That's hot lamb curry, saag paneer, yogurt, and colostrum custard. I didn't even ask where am I going to get colostrum, nothing like that. I just said, yes, Mehera. So anyway, we finished this wonderful lunch and fast, and Judith's birthday had been, was in a few days too. So we come out onto the veranda and it's afternoon tea. And Rhoda Dubash is there. And Rhoda, you know our Rhoda, she was quite annoyed about this special treatment. This is February 24th, 1989. I can tell you now, there was no aphasia then, and I knew her well. I knew her really well. She was just older. And and I had no clue I would never see her again after this particular trip in 1989. Anyway, so Rhoda said, so while I'm there, Mehera pulls me aside and says 3 things or several things. So I want you to be very careful with Franny. Always keep her with you. Never give her away or anything like that. Always leave her hair long. She's a plain girl, so leave her beautiful hair long. Never let her sit on men's knees, ever. And never leave her alone with any men who are not family. And you have to outlive her. So I just said yes. But I was sort of consumed by the seriousness of this moment. I remembered every detail, and we go out on the veranda, and dear Rhoda Dubash jumps between me and Mehera and says, "Oh, so it's your birthday. Aren't you special? Well, you had a special lunch." Oh, and the other thing Mehera said to me, never tell your age. She used to tell me to lie about my age and take 10 years off my age. Because she wished she'd never told her age. So I used to always have fibs, and I had ways of taking 10 years off it. So now it was different. Never tell your age. Gulp. Anyway, the most unfeminine thing is to say, oh, I don't tell. But anyway, so she says, so you had a birthday. So how old are you? Well, I'm here, Rhoda's here, and Mehera's behind Rhoda. I said, oh, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Oh, I thought, I've done it. I know what to do. Mehera's giggling. And Rhoda says, and a little bit vain too. And I went, yes, I guess you're right. I'm vain too. And Mehera's going like this, you've got it. You know, this is how to deal with it. This is just take it as if it's something amusing, and this is how to deal with it. And she wished she had done it too. So that was very special. Then another time during that trip, it's interesting that there was this trip that she just kept telling me or asking me about all these things. Would I please try to wear green when I sing, because it creates longing in people, green. She loved green, and it creates longing. She asked me about Franny's extra chromosome, and I tried to explain about all that. And then the next day she said, well, I pray for Franny every day. And I said, Mehera, that's such a waste. You know, it's there. It's in every blood cell. There's nothing you can do about it. And she said, you keep out of this. I said, I pray for Franny every day.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Jay Baba.
Wow. Yeah. I know the intimate attention they gave was just so touching. Wow. Thank you, Rain. That's great. That really brings Mehera alive before us.
She loved us all with so much detail. Her appreciation was not just for a textile, or she could see the Baba in all of us. She appreciated every detail of each one. There was a boy once came from Melbourne, a very young boy, and he came in a suit and a tie. I think it was in 73 when we went as a group. And we didn't know him well at all, and I never saw him again. And he came round to the porch and he asked, could he sing to Mehera? I thought Francis was going to pass out. And Mehera said, yes, let him sing. This gorgeous lad, I mean, he might have been 18 or 19. He just stood there in his suit and his tie and said, Mehera, I just met a girl called Mehera, and suddenly I find that name's a lovely sound to me. And she's crying and we're crying and friends are all crying. It was so innocent and so exquisite, you know, that he thought of that when he saw her. Just the Baba poured out of everybody, and she appreciated it. She could see BA on every strand of hair, everywhere. It was magnificent.
Yeah, wow. I can't see. Oh, I got to go to gallery here. Anyone else have something to share? Wow. I guess I got to get the gallery. I can't see who's there.
I guess George raised his hand. George.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of shy about this one. Okay. But I'll share. But I didn't realize you were going to do Mehera today, and we were so busy we almost missed it. And so, but I feel that I was obviously brought here to do it. So okay. And Tony, you can help me like a little bit. Okay. So, but yeah, I give you a warning. But I was very, very, very fortunate to be asked by Mehera to share some things that I created. Like in 1975, I don't know if Tony even remembers this, but you might not have been there. But Mehera asked me to play the harmonica, and there was an older. This is where I need your help. He was not old. He was just an older fellow. I was 21, so I was kind of young. But he was an Australian fella that he had this cap, and he I don't know what instrument or what he played, but it was but he taught me. I had a harmonica. I was learning the harmonica. I was carrying it around, and he taught me waltzing Matilda. So I was playing the harmonica around Meherazad, and the women mandali heard me, and apparently Mehera heard me, and so I was there, and she was there, and I think it was Mehera and Naja and Mehera were there. I think they were all there, and Mehera asked me to play for her, so I did. So I played the harmonica. It was a different kind of harmonica. So I brought this is all on the fly. I didn't realize you guys doing it, but I got a harmonica out. That's the first thing she asked me to do. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a little, I had no practice, just kind of do it here, but she asked me to play, and I'm going to do it. So let's see what I can come up with. Nope, wrong way. There, that's better. Mehera asked me to play Waltzing Matilda, and I played Waltzing Matilda for Mehera. So that's the first thing she asked me to do. Okay, and I have several stories of Mehera, but that's the number one. And in 1986, when Shelley and I were in India, so Mehera asked me to do something else, something different. So we were in Mandali Hall. Mehera was there in Mandali Hall. And I don't remember the precise event, but I had just written a poem, and I read it out in Mandali Hall in 1986. And Mehera heard the poem, and she asked me for a copy of the poem. She apparently it really touched her. And so fortunately, because this was lost for a long time, because I have a diary for 75, and then I have my book of, odds and ends from 86, I found the poem. so I gave her a copy of the poem, of course. I gave Mehera a copy of the poem because she asked for it. But I have the poem in here. I'm going to read it to you. Otherwise, it was kind of lucky that I found it. Otherwise, so I'll read you the poem that Mehera asked me to give her. And the title of the poem is To Beloved Baba. You are my dearest friend, yet I forget you. You are my closest companion, yet I walk as if I am alone. You never fail me, yet I often forsake you. How can I beg your forgiveness, which you have already forgiven me countless times? I wish to love you, yet I cannot match your undying love. I wish to surrender to you, yet I do not yet know how. You have given me the greatest blessing that can be given. You have given me everything there is to give, and taken from me all that can possibly be taken. If only I can learn how to be a faithful slave, and one day merit your divine gift of love. My dearest beloved Meher Baba, thank you.
Beautiful.
So that's the poem that Mero asked me to share, give her, and I gave her the poem after read it. I composed the poem I was walking up to the tomb on the halfway between the railroad tracks and the tomb, and so I wrote the poem there on the bench. So that's where it was composed. I was on my way to the tomb and on the hill. So that was in '86. Also, and something very important, I happen to be sitting next to it. Fortunately, that's my little Baba box with Baba treasures. I have the wrapper of Christmas '86 when Mehera gave a prasad. So I got that in my little Baba box. I saved the wrapper. Of course, I took the prasad right away. Because what else would you do? Okay, so I got that, and that's one of my personal treasure. So that's kind of very important. Shelly and I were very, very fortunate to. I think apparently I read in my diary because I forgot about it, because I told you I blanked out of a lot of what happened in '75 because it was so intense. But apparently this happened in '75 too. But we were with them inside the tomb when the women mandali came, and we were there when they sang the artis. So we sang the artis with the women mandali in the tomb in '86, and it was amazing. It was a completely amazing experience to be in the tomb. And apparently I also had that experience in '75, but again, the one I remember is '86. So that was really a blessing and a fortune to just get the fantastic timing to have that happen. So there's many other stories. I mean, there's more. We talked to Mehera, we shared things with Mehera and back and forth, and we got messages from Mehera. But that was what I'll share tonight. So it's remembrances of Mehera, and the gifts that we got from the mandali were so amazing. The fact that they thought of us when it was all focused on Baba, it's really the whole thing was that their thoughts of us was their gifts and their love for Baba, and for us it's all about we were there as essentially the touch of God for the mandali as well as for ourselves in the same time. I think it was really, and we were the ones who got that chance. We are very lucky about that. I mean, I got many other stories, but that was the ones that touched me about in terms of Mehera. So thank you. So
Okay, thank you, George. From Portland.
Yeah, Portland.
Another Oregonian.
Oh yeah, and one little minor message for Tony. Email me about Robert. Okay. So I want to get his photos. We're going to give a little Sahavas presentation on 75 here in Portland, in our Baba Sahavas. So okay. So Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba, George. Yeah.
Ladies.
Yeah.
Hi, Jai Baba. I went to India for the first time after being a Baba lover for 14 years. I went for the first time by myself in March of '87. And I came back, I spent a couple of weeks. I came back Baba was so generous with, I just came back totally stoked. And I said to the whole family, we all have to go. We all have to go. And it happened that Dave had an accident and got a settlement, a neck injury, and got a settlement, so we could afford to go. That we went on that money from the settlement. He was still all in a neck brace, and boy, when we first showed up, Dr. Goer just zoomed right in on him. She was so good to him. she she wanted to know all about it. I just remember those soft hands. She was so good, and she gave us a little bottle of water that Baba's feet had been washed, and but anyway, to go back a little bit, our family was a blended family. David and I had been married as late teenagers, ages 18 and 19. Had our first son. Then we divorced 2 years later. We had a 10-year separation. He had another family. And then Baba put us back together again. So our family consisted of our son, the children from his other marriage, and then our daughter, again, we had a daughter, Shireen, and his kid's half-brother, Gary, who wasn't David's and wasn't mine, but eventually all the kids came to live with us. So Mehera wanted to know, she was meeting the family for the first time, she wanted to know who was who. So I introduced her to our daughter Shani. At the time we were on the porch, it was just I don't remember everybody being there. Well, Dave was probably down, not on the porch, but down below. Anyway, I remember Shireen and Gary and me being on the porch. I don't know where I don't know where everybody was, but and so she gets to Gary, and she said, "And who's this?" I said, "Oh, that's my stepson." And she looked at me, and she said, "You shouldn't say it that way. You shouldn't." And then she turned to Gary, who was kind of sitting and spacing out a bit over at the end of the porch, and she said, "Gary, who's this?" And he said, "Oh, that's my mom." He was not paying attention. He wasn't, And so she looked at me like, "Got it." And and he's turned out to be the most. He's been a great son. So that's my little story about that. So that's.
Thank you, Betty. Yeah, very touching.
Tony?
Yes. Hi. Well, first I want to say, George, I think I'm the only Tony here, but I'm not sure who you're talking about because I don't know.
Okay.
Robert, and I was not there,
Oh,
unfortunately.
you weren't. Okay, well, that's okay. No
But
worries.
It was nice being called out, but.
Oh, no, that was cool.
Okay. And also, I just want to say I had the pleasure of meeting Bob Yeager at the center last week. And it's really nice to meet someone here in person, who I didn't already know in person, like Jeff, I did meet. Okay, I shared some things at the Mehera meeting 2 days ago, so I won't repeat that. I will say that I did, when COVID lockdown began, I started doing live streams, which wound up getting very long, like about an hour. And I did I think 55 in the next 4 months. But if you go to my YouTube page, which is just Tony Paterniti, and look for live stream number 45, it's all songs about Mehera, stories about Mehera, things like that. So just get that out of the way. Because of George's share, I felt inspired to share about what a pleasure and joy it was to be able to sing for Mehera. I had originally gone to India with this group, the Society for Avatar Meher Baba, which it became a very cultish little thing. But still, we went for every Amar Tithi I went from 72, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 80 with them. And each time we got to sing for Mehera, and many times they were songs I had written. And I was not to be acknowledged as the person who wrote them, but we still got to sing them for her. And meeting her so many times. And then after on my own, and I'm thinking in 82, I went for the first time with my own songs that I was singing myself for her. And there was one she particularly loved, and she asked me to repeat, and it ended with a coda about a praise of Baba's eyes. Another, which I think I'd like to play now, was a ghazal of Francis's that I'd set to music, and she liked it very much, but she had an interesting comment at the end. I had set so many of Francis's words to music over the years. I would never have troubled about love if love had not troubled me. I would never be on this raft if I had not been chucked into the sea. Not been chucked into the sea. Anyone who enters upon this trackless path of his own accord should be shut up in an asylum with hard labor to earn his board, to earn his board. When God loves a man, he sets about arranging his ruin, puts a great pot on the fire for him to snugly stew in. Then he fishes him out, he fishes him out and cools him with a sideways glance that says, maybe you'll become my lover. There is just a chance. The poor fish, he is now neither man, beast, nor fowl, thinks that a world's end has come and sets up an awful yowl. This is the beginning of his love song, a clearing of his throat after many lifetimes of attempts. He finds the right note. Now it is all clear sailing, with only storms and shipwrecks for the sake of diversion and other sundry aspects. 'Cause when God loves a man, he sets about arranging his ruin, puts a great pot on the fire for him to snugly stew in. And that's why I would never have troubled about love if love had not troubled me. I would never be on this raft if I had not been chucked into the sea. Not been chucked into the sea.
Thank you, Tony.
And the thing about that song, she really loved it very much, and she made some comment, very nice comment about it, and then she looked at me and she said, "But you didn't write the words, did you?" And of course, they were Francis's words, and their content was way beyond my experience. I got them, but she immediately. And another story about the singing to Mehera. I was on Mehera's porch. I was on one of those high stools, and I was singing one of my songs for her. And then it was the next person's turn. And Arsenio Rodriguez was over at the other far end of the porch, in front of the porch. And he was singing this emotional song in Spanish, and it was so beautiful. But I'm still sitting on this big high stool, a very prominent position, which is fine when you're performing, but not when someone else is. I didn't say anything, but Mehera told one of the Western women who lived there, said, "Get Tony a stool." And this woman went to get a really medium-sized stool. And Mehera said, "No, not that one." And she pointed to the lower stool, that one. So she had picked up my distress about being in a prominent position when someone else was performing, and had someone get a stool for me. Lots of stories, but yeah, like I say, there's my YouTube thing, and there's about an hour's worth of stories on it. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yeah, we've got a couple more hands here.
Rosalie?
Jai Baba. Mehera was my all-time favorite ever, ever, ever. Speaking of entertaining, I got to entertain her. She found me entertaining, and she could see into a person's soul, that I'm sure. And I created this takeoff on Pinocchio. I mean, Mehera was so, she just could pull things out of you. Like you wanted to please her. That's how I felt. And so I'll never forget performing this. And I had myself born on Mandali Hall floor in this performance. I was Ego Nocchio. He had been whittled by his father Geppetto, if you know the story. He was a little wooden boy that becomes real. And anyway, I remember looking out and seeing Mehera. It was like just seeing joy. She looked like she was on the edge of her seat. She had this beautiful child capacity, just so beautiful, not sophisticated, complicated, just pure joy was coming from her. I wanted to tell you about this other time. There was a book passing around on the porch. We were, of course, sitting there with Mehera, and Mehera has the only semi-comfortable chair. And then there was a chair that was kind of comfortable, not like it's a hardboard. And my friend was sitting in that chair, and I was sitting behind her, and this book was passing around. Well, I passed the book around to my friend, and all of a sudden I hear Mehera said, my name is Rosalie, by the way. She deliberately says, Rosalie, I am talking to her. Have you no manners? How were you brought up? And it was like pin drop silence on the porch. And all I could say is Mehera did me a tremendous favor. She lanced any pain I had in growing up, my childhood. It wasn't the worst childhood, but it wasn't the best for my sensitivity. And I couldn't believe it was like the pain. I just felt this acute, unbelievable pain and just crying. I started crying, but it was totally silent. But I wanted to get away. I thought I should go into Baba's bedroom. So I turned, but there was someone blocking and I was incapacitated. I wouldn't have been talking. So I just stayed there. But it was very beautiful with Mehera. It was there and then it was gone, you know. And in a way, almost like it never happened. But I did truly know that everyone on that porch knew it could have been them. I'm so utterly grateful for meeting Mehera. And then one time she just looked over at me on the porch and she says, Rosalie, you enjoy entertaining, don't you? I says, Mehera, I love performing. And she says, you were born for that. And, you know, I mean, she was really the only one that I would listen to, you know, to me. And Mani knew that too, because one time Mani said to me, Rosalie, can't you look away from Mehera once in a while? Can't you look away? And I thought, I'm not going to tangle with Mani. But I didn't answer because I knew Mehera would tell me if she didn't want me looking at her, because my eyes needed to see this pure soul to erase anything from anywhere. She could do that. Anyway, so much. I mean, if there was a book, I could write a book about my feelings of being with Mehera and just the exquisite gift that Baba would give through his female side. Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I wanted to ask Paula Roper, are you there, Paula? Whoop. Hey, you have something to share about Mehera, or is that?
Which one? The story about that woman, or
Yeah,
I mean, I'm home.
Maureen.
Huh?
Yeah, Maureen Stoddard.
Yeah, you knew who she was. It's really interesting. It's like you and I have parts of the same story, but anyway, it's an important story. Okay, before Mehera went to Baba, a lot of things were happening around the Blessed Mother. And I mean, really strange things that I heard about, like people had rosaries turning to gold and things like that, you know, some really interesting kinds of things. And anyway, and it was like, you know, who is Mehera really, kind of things. So this woman was an Native American Indian woman, and she had had a lot of abuse in her life, and she was raised Catholic. And she noticed that when she prayed to Mary during those times, it got better. It just got a little better, you know? So she became a Baba lover, and she was walking. Mehera took her around the garden, the Meherazad garden, and was showing her the garden. And Mehera turned. Suddenly she turned and she stopped, and she looked in her eyes and she said, when you prayed to Mary, it was I who heard you.
Yeah. Yeah, she had taken shelter in Mary all through, you know, her, as I say, her childhood, and then she was a mother with a single mother with 4 kids, and really struggled. But Mary was, you know, the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus, was her great support in her life, and there Mehera acknowledged that. Yep.
You know, Jill and I used to have these conversations, and I don't know anything. Let's just put that out there. I don't know anything. But what it feels like to me, that's slowly unraveling and feels like it's being revealed, is that Mehera is, it's like, I feel like this, like Mehera is the ancient one as well as Baba, that she comes with him. She's so much who he is. And, you know, it felt to me like she, you know how Baba was so guileless, and it was like he didn't know anything while he knew everything. That's the way Mehera felt to me. She
Yeah.
was so innocent and guileless, and it was an amazing experience to be even near this person who was the purest of the pure. That's indescribable. But she also made it easy. You know, she made it natural and easy to be with her. But she knew things, and it's, I can't really explain it, but she did. It was like she knew. I watched her kind of answer everything, and I was tricky. I didn't mean to be tricky. I was just stupid. But she, like, I had a photograph of a drawing of Baba that I did, that I brought to her, and I gave it to her, and she really liked it. She put it on Baba's Kadi, which made me cry. But she gave, I don't know what I did, if I had different copies or whatever, but she gave me one back, and I didn't know the protocol, you know. So later I gave that to Mansari, and Mansari said, well, Baba gave me a photograph of this himself. But what it was I didn't know. I realized later that Mehera was giving me prasad by giving it back to me. And here I gave it away, but I didn't know what I was doing. So anyway, the day I was leaving on the veranda, this was really interesting to watch, because I was sitting on the bench, and there was a woman there who was really taking a lot of Mehera's attention. And I was leaving. I had to leave early. And, you know, I was kind of thinking, I thought about it, and I thought, well, I think she needs Mehera's attention more than I do. But it was really amazing what happened, because this woman was telling her story about when she was a child. She felt lonely and ignored, and she lived with an aunt who had a child her age, and that child got all the attention, and this woman didn't get any and stuff. And Mehera just very quietly said, that hurts the heart of a child. It's like, that's it. It just, she knew how to, so she knew how to target things. So here, and I was feeling like, you know, I wasn't getting any attention. And actually it was okay with me, pretty okay with me. But before I left, I had asked her, I think, for some of Baba's hair, and she kept saying everybody was leaving, going to lunch, and I had to leave and go get a rickshaw. And so she said, wait a minute, I'll go get it. So I'm waiting on the veranda, and I'm the only one left, and there was one person down below, who, only one person, but she was there because I gave her my camera, and Mehera was there with me. So I said, Mehera, you would you take a picture with me? And I was like, oh yeah. So this one person is down there with the camera, and Mehera came out, and she was so sweet. It's like, I never felt good about my body and all that stuff, and I never cared much about clothes, but I had this really pretty scarf, and she was playing with my scarf, and she kept saying, how beautiful, how beautiful. She felt light as a feather. She felt really light, like she could just float away. She felt really happy. That's the way she felt to me in that moment. And then so I said, Mehera, do you want to be in the picture? And she was like, yeah. So it's like, okay, that was very cool. So I had my house burned up, and the picture went with it, but it's in my heart. I had a picture of Mehera on my left and Mehera on my right, and I was in the middle. And then so that person left. I got my camera back. That person left, and Mehera and then Mehera kind of backed off too. But Mehera said, I had a locket on me, and Mehera said, oh, is Baba's picture in the locket? And I said, yeah. And she said, let me see. So she opened the locket and she kissed it. So that was my prasad. It was like she had to really go around the bend to get it to me. But see how kind of, that's amazing to me. And the other amazing, there was another amazing thing that happened too. But anyway, so and then when I left, it was just me and her, which is unusual. And she was on the veranda and she just waved until I was out of sight. So there's a couple things.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to mention kind of in relation to what you said there is, and Adi was an expert on God Speaks, and he knew it very thoroughly and used to talk about it. But there's a portion in God Speaks where Baba talks about, different mandali playing certain roles. There's someone plays a role of Peter, someone plays a role of John, and in this Advent, Erich played the role of Peter, and Bal played the role of John. And Bob describes this, these certain roles, but they're occupied by a certain time, like with Erich occupied the role of Peter, but then in Muhammad's time it was Ali, in the time of Buddha it was Ananda. So, but then he said Baba told him one day, Mehera is always the same one. And he said that several times, and other people heard it because I confirmed it. Baba had told him that.
I've also heard Mehera herself say, "I've always been a woman. I've never been a man."
Yeah. So yes, that seems to confirm that. So what I mean is that, she was much more special than we might have realized. If what Adi says is true, and I think it is true. I mean, I felt like I never met anyone quite like Mehera. She came from heaven down, and the rest of us are coming from the muck up,
Yeah, can I tell you a little bit more?
Yeah.
So this is, I was there at Amartithi. So, and my oldest son was 11 at the time, and he was with me. So he could meet her, and he had tea with her, and she could touch him. So that was important. But the women came to Meherazad, and we were all going to go up to the Samadhi for Arti. Oh, actually, no, this was wait a minute. Okay, I think there were two separate times. Maybe not. No, maybe not. We were walking up the hill. Everybody was walking up the hill together, and it's crowds and crowds of people at Samartithi time. And I think this might have been the 7th day, Entombment Day, because what happened on Entombment Day. So we're walking up the hill, and there's all these throngs of people. And so women, of course, are making a circle around Mehera, but my son was right with me, and he could be there. And as we're walking up the hill, actually it was funny because Mehera kept stopping at all the stalls and talking to people because she knew everybody. And Mani got a little like, Mehera, come on, can you move it along a little bit? But we're going up the hill, and there was one person in front of me, and then Mehera was there. And I thought, who is this between me and Mehera? It was Mani. So, but what I did was I looked down, and I was watching her feet, and purposely I was walking in Mani's footsteps, which were Mehera's footsteps right in front of her. And I thought, this is where I want to be. It was so wonderful. And then when we were up at the tomb, and the women were in the tomb, and I was going to be leaving, and somebody grabbed me and said, "You're leaving soon." I was leaving 2 days later. "You're leaving soon, so you need to be in the tomb." Now this day, it was Entombment Day. It was the 7th, and it was really strange because there was an energy around the samadhi. It was like winds were whipping up, and there was this really strange, it was an interesting energy. And Christian was scared. He didn't go up there. He stayed down at the MPC because of that. But anyway, so I wound up, you know how Baba puts you places, and it's like you're on another planet pretty much. But anyway, so it was so sweet because somehow, I mean, we said arti and everything, but then everybody would put a flower on Baba's feet. You know, you had a chance to bow down. And I had put flowers for my family and everybody. And this time there was that basket of flowers, and I took a rose and I thought, Baba, this is me. This is me. But what was so cool was Mehera was right beside me. She was sitting, you know, on the edge of the tomb, and she was just right there. And it was just an awareness that was like, whew. I mean, that you can't get better support than that. So then when she bowed down, then, you know, we backed off, and it was gonna be time to leave. But when Mehera bowed down at Baba's feet, thunder rolled, and it took my breath away. And this was so clear. I thought so clearly, my God, I'm in the presence of love bowing down to love itself. I'm in the presence of love bowing down to love itself. And I don't know what that is. I can't touch it or feel it or taste it, but I know that I'm in the presence of everything that's real.
Wow, beautiful, Paula. Wow.
Gee.
Wow.
And that was how she told me who she is. Other than at tea, when we were talking about the farmers and, you know, just stuff. Yeah. That was so clear that she's love bowing down to love itself.
Yeah, beautiful.
Everything that's real.
So,
Jen?
I want to share one little thing. I want to share a picture from Paula Roper. Paula drew this picture of Baba. This is Paula. I don't know how to get this. Let me get in the camera. There's light. Okay, I'm trying to get it. It's a glass on glass, or it's kind of hard to. Let me see if I. Nope, not getting light. Let me get the light away from it. Okay, but this is a picture that Paula drew of Baba, and maybe there's going to be the light. It's almost there. It's almost there. It's actually, the detail isn't there in the camera. This is a lot of detail in this picture. So, again, there's no way to, I got to take the glass out, I think, practically to do this. Maybe I will. Okay, so, I mean, you know, better said than, except that I don't have a clue how this works. Okay, so, yeah.
Thank you, George. That's the one that I gave to Mehera that she really liked.
Yes, and I thought that was. That's why I wanted to show this. And there's the picture. Here's the picture. And since Shelley and I have a copy that I think you gave us. Okay. So we were a part of the Seattle family, the Seattle Baba group, for many years in the 80s. And Shelley and I were Paula was a part of our Baba family in the 80s. And it was a wonderful Baba family back in the 80s in Seattle. And anyway, this is the picture, but it's you can't see, it's blurry in the picture. Even now, you can't see it with the light, but it's a beautiful picture. The detail, it's amazing detail if you got it sharp, if you could figure out how to do that. But maybe backwards, yeah. Well, it gets dark there too.
Should I go get it?
There's a limit to technology. Huh?
Should I go get it? It's on the
You
wall.
got the picture. Anyway, I wanted to bring it up because you told the story. So I thought that was important. So anyway, so thank you. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you, George.
Thanks, George.
We got a few people with their hands raised.
Meherazad?
Sure, Meher Baba. I've shared few things on the other day, but I don't want to repeat those things. But I want to tell two stories. They are really big, but still I cut short because my family, my mother was very close to Meramai and to the women mandali. Fortunately, I was also very close, and those days I was an instruction to be spent time with them. I used to go to Meherabad yearly 5-6 times and spend 3 days with the mandali. So those times, one of the times, it was August 15th, was my sister's birthday. So when I was in August, normally I used to go to the Meherabad. So while that time newly MPC, they started a new bus. Then we used to go 4 days in a week for the Meherazad. Those days from 10 we used to start. I reach at 10:45 or 11 and stay up to 4:30, 3:30 in the Meherazad. So one of those days, when I got down from the bus, the Meherazad trust office, the petrol bunk is there, petrol, what you call gasoline. When I got down, Bauji was waiting for me. Bauji said, "We have received a phone call from your mother that your brother-in-law is very serious." And at that time, my sister was very new to my brother-in-law used to stay in Sydney in those days. And my sister was very new to the Australia. She doesn't know how to drive and all that. And she got a little kid of 3 years. And while before going to the Australia, they went to the Meherazad, and Meramai and Mani presented my niece a locket and all that. But the story is that my brother-in-law was very sick and Bauji asked me to inform it to your mother wants to inform it to the Meramai and also to Aloba. Okay, I said, and ask them to pray for your brother-in-law's health. So when the moment I got down from the bus, I went to Aloba and narrated the same thing, and then I went to Meramai. Then Meramai heard that, and then while I was sitting in the Mandali hall, I think Katie auntie came and told, Meramai wants to see you at 1:15 at 1:45, 1:30 those days, the 1 o'clock the lunchtime, 1:15 she asked you to see at the Mehera's porch. So 1:15 exactly I went. Before that, my mother gave some few sweets. One of the favorite sweets of Meramai was we call kova kajikai, means it is made of kova and then inside the coconut this will be there. So when I went there, Meramai called me, Marchand, don't worry, nothing to do with your brother-in-law, is not due to any accident or cancer. And he will be all right, everything will be all right. And by 31st August, you know the result. Why I'm emphasizing this, they know everything, the future, present, and everything. Meramai, she knows everything. So went there, and she called me and said immediately, she took the prasad, that prasad, and she put it on to her forehead where the scar of the 1952 accident was there. She put and she closed the eyes, and then he said, take this prasad and you and your mother should eat. And immediately and asked me to go to the Baba's room and pray. Baba is the one who is the real savior. We are nothing. We are nothing, but he is the savior. I went and prayed. Then again after the tea, Meramai called me and said, she gave me 3 flowers in a small packet and said, the moment you get down from the bus, go up the hill and then go to Samadhi and put these flowers. And Baba, we prayed for Baba, we prayed to Baba, and you also go and pray that Baba, you only should help me. You only should help me. 3 times she asked me to repeat. I went there. And the moment I got down and then went back to the Australia, to Hyderabad, I'm cut shorting, everything is a big story. The moment I went to the Hyderabad, returned back to Hyderabad, my mother said, They have taken biopsy, whether it is a TB or a cancer or anything, we don't know. And they said the results will be found out 31st August. So the moment 31st August, what Meheramai said, the same thing is doctor said 31st August, the results will come. On 31st August means we got the results on 1st September stating that nothing has happened, it's all right. It's only a premature tuberculosis. It can be cured. So that's what the Meheramai said, nothing to happen to his life. And same thing has happened. And such an indication, she has boosted our morale also by praying to Baba. And second incident is you all, most of the people, Jeff and Rennie knows that I was so, this thing is particularly when they asked me to join as a Meherazad family member, the condition is I should not get married. So I was so adamant to get married. My mother, father, they are, because my three brothers were in States and one sister was in Australia. So my mother said, somebody has to take care of the house, you should get married. So I dodged it for 2 years, but ultimately I had to get married. So before getting married, I went to the Meherazad and met Meheramai. Meheramai and Mani said, oh, what is all Baba's plan and Baba's game? You have to abide by that, don't worry. Your longingness for Baba doesn't go waste. Your longingness for Baba doesn't go waste. And she gave me a button, Baba's button. And she said, keep with you in your hand during your marriage. So I came back and my marriage was took place on 26th, immediately next day of Baba's birthday. So 26th morning at 10:30 that my marriage service was there. We call Muhurtam, that is. So the moment I entered into the marriage mandap, so I was holding the badge. And I don't know, when I saw the Baba's picture, literally I was crying. Literally I was crying. Everyone was surprised. Oh, what's happened to Merchant? And most of the Baba lovers and admired, oh, don't weep, don't weep, don't weep. This is your marriage, you should be happy. But my mind and my longingness was that, oh, I missed the chance, I missed the bus. But ultimately, the moment again I saw by this thing, Baba, seeing Baba's face on that says, your longing doesn't go waste. That consoled me. And that's the reason I got. And there are many other short stories from which I don't have a paucity of time. I'll share some other time. Avatar, Meher, Baba Ki Jai.
Yeah. Yeah, we are getting a little bit late here. Let's see. Looks like rainy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say two stories that came to mind. One was when Rosalie talked about not being able to take your eyes off Mehera. Mehera told us a story with a card of gopis all in bliss dancing around Krishna. And she handed it right around the porch and everyone was staring at it, and I was the last one next to her to hand it back to her, and I was staring at it trying to see what she wanted us to see. And then I got completely infatuated and she sort of quickly took it off me. She could move faster than lightning like Baba. And she said, so what you all need to tell me now is which one is Radha? And she held it up. And we just stared at it and stared at her. She said, this one is Radha, the profile. Her eyes were never, ever off Krishna. This one is Radha.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the end, I sang, the last time I ever sang to her in February 89 was a song I'd written called Gazing Into Your Eyes, Not Knowing How to Look Away. And Mehera said that's exactly how it was. If you looked into his eyes, you could never engage. He would engage and you could disengage, but you yourself, I've never seen anyone able to look away till he looked away. That's how it was. And then she stared into space and said, you know, once I saw light, it came in the window and it got caught in Baba's eyes. It's just light. And it span in bliss like a dervish. It was just light and it was caught in his eyes, spinning in bliss like a dervish. And also this business of Mehera having been ancient and all of the consorts. She thought she had been. And she would tell a story that when she lived with Upasni, they called her Mira. They couldn't say Mehera, the proper pronunciation. And when she lived in Goa, she was called Mary because she went to a Christian school. And then when she came back to Baba, she was Mehera again. And she said, I have been all of those names.
Wow.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba, thank you.
Yeah, Fred
Wow.
Stankus asked her if she was the same as the Blessed Mother and Mary. And she, Alaba was ringing for people to get on the bus, but he was alone with her. And he asked her, were you the same one? Is that you? And says, yes, I was both. Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Vesta. Vesta.
Huh. I think we lost Vesta.
No, sorry, I couldn't get, my fingers don't work very well,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everybody for sharing so much divinity about Mehera. Even though I met Mehera in the early 70s, her divinity I knew was there, but it was always at a distance. And Bao explained to me later that part of the reason that was held at a distance for me is that I wouldn't have been able to do what I did in those days, especially at Meherazad, if I'd have been absorbed in her divinity. I'd have just been, incapacitated, I think is the word. But I wanted to share kind of a couple of lighthearted moments. And one of them was when I first came to India, I was enthralled with Baba's potty chair in his room at Meherazad. I don't know why I was drawn to his potty chair, but I always loved going to Baba's room and garlanding Baba's potty chair. And when Mehera would go in, I guess after she'd have breakfast or later in the morning, she noticed that Baba's potty chair would be garlanded, and she couldn't figure out who was garlanding Baba's potty chair. And I guess she never asked, because what she would do is she would sometimes wait outside Baba's door in hopes of catching somebody dropping some flowers on Baba's potty chair. And so one day when I walked in and put the flowers in, all of a sudden there's Mehera opening the door to Baba's room, and she says, I wasn't sure who it was, but I've been watching because in those days, 7 to 10 pilgrims was a huge, that was a lot of people. This was like when people were first starting to come and stay. And so she said, I watched and waited to people come and go, or they would come here for a week or 10 days and then they would leave, and then the flowers were still coming. So I knew it wasn't them. So by process of elimination, I thought it was you. And so I caught you, she said. And from that day forward, it was probably early 1975, something like that. From that day forward until the last day she was in Baba's room, she would put flowers on Baba's potty chair from me and her. And then this little photograph that she gave me that she kept when I went back to the States, that she put on Baba's little nightstand by his bed. She'd always put a little, either a marigold or a little tiny rosebud there too for me. And yeah, that was just something she didn't have to do, but I thought was just such a sweet gesture from her, just her kindness. And to be so enthralled with somebody putting flowers on Baba's potty chair that she wanted to continue doing that. It didn't have anything to do with me really, but it was just like, yeah, why not decorate and honor his potty chair? And then I don't know how much time is there left, Jeff, or do you want to just leave it at that?
There's not too much time. Well, it's getting up to midnight here. If you have how long is the story?
2 minutes.
Okay, fine, go for it.
It's
Then
the
we'll,
playful, it's the playful side of Mehera.
yeah,
And I don't know if you want to end on the playful side or leave it to the more somber divine side. I'll let you tell me what you want.
go for the playful side.
Okay. Well, one day it was probably just before tea time, and that's oftentimes when the women would take a bath. Because it was quiet and they'd had their nap and they were going to quickly take their bath and then have tea, and then the rest of the day would go on. So Meru had gone into the bathing area and was having a bath. And if you've ever been in the back where the kitchen is, the pipe that comes out from the bathing area drops the water into a trough, and it goes into kind of a pit. And then they used it for watering the garden. They didn't want to waste the water and just have it go out somewhere. And Mehera happened to be, I don't know what I was doing. I was back on the walkway on that back area. And I was maybe washing my hands or whatever. And Mehera was inside that little square room between the kitchen and Baba's dining room. And she was pouring a glass of water and drinking a glass of water. And she happened to look out the little screened window there and saw me down on the veranda by where the bathing areas were. So she called, she goes, psst, 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 Vesta, come here. And she must have seen there were these big frogs that would go up the pipes and they'd fill up their whole bodies with water. So they'd go in the size of a silver dollar and they'd come out the size of 3 or 4 silver dollars. They'd suck up all the water. So she said to me, do you mind putting your hand in the pipe? And I said, no, Mary, you want me to put my hand in the pipe? I'll go put my hand in the pipe. And we started to laugh. And she said, I knew you'd say that. She said, go pull out, there's a frog that's up there. And it's probably all loaded with the water right now. Grab that frog. And when Meru comes out, turn it. And the word in Gujarati for your bottom is dome, tumara dome, right? That means your bottom. And she said, face its dome towards Meru's feet and then squeeze the frog and have the water go out and spray her feet and then watch her reaction. And then she said, but turn and run back to me, she said, because when it happened, Meru got crazy with me. How could you do that, you jungly kutri, which means you dirty dog? How could you squirt water from that frog's dome on my feet? I just came out of bathing. And Mehera comes out and says, what's the big deal? Just go wash your feet. So, I mean, that's kind of a funny thing to do, is say, pull that frog out and squeeze the water. But that was kind of the playful side that the women had with each other living together.
Beautiful.
Mischievous she was.
Yeah, that's, and I mean, they didn't turn on TVs. They read books and acted out stories, or, they entertained themselves.
Hey, so I think we'll end. I'm going to sing a song. Maybe we'll end. This is a song that was sung by Eva Cassidy, and I've changed the words of the song to fit Mehera. And some of you have already heard this, but so what you do is picture. The first 2 verses are of Mehera and the women back in the early 20s at Meherazad, Lower Meherazad, where Baba, they had so much intimate time with Baba. This is before his silence, and no electricity. So they would starts out with a fire, outside at night, in the evening, and the last verse is Mehera. This is Mehera singing to Baba this song, or about her life with Baba. And the last verse, she's at Meherazad, kind of gazing at the sunsets. And so here it goes. Evenings in autumn A glowing fire lights up your face in orange and gold. I see your sweet smile shine through the darkness. Its lines are etched in my memory, so I'd know you by heart, so I'd know you by heart. Mornings in springtime, sharing love's secrets, we'd walk until the morning was gone. We were like sweethearts, laughing for hours. The love you gave me lives on and on, 'cause I know you by heart. I still hear your voice on cool monsoon nights, whispering like the wind. Oh, you left in winter, the leaves were turning. I gazed on sunsets of orange and gold. I see your sweet smile, I hear your laughter. You're still here beside me every day, 'cause I know you by heart, 'cause I know you by heart.
Jeff,
Yeah.
can Rainey please sing a song?
Yeah.
She used to just sing the Mehera all the time.
Thank you. Beautiful. I'll sing one next time, Rosalie. It's so late for everybody, and they've heard the Mehera CD. I think now for prayers and silence would be best.
Okay, let's have a few moments of silence, and the people on the East Coast can finally get to sleep, get some rest. Jai Baba. Thank you all for all that you shared. Yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lovely tribute. Jai Baba. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baba.
Love to Danny.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Ah,
Thank you, everyone. We love you.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we had two different programs and almost no repeated stories. There were just endless stories, I think.
Yeah.
One on Friday, and I think they're all new today.
Yeah, Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Meher Baba Jeff and Jai Baba to everyone.
Yeah, thank you all for
Thank
all that you gave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Baba.
Yay, Baba.
Yay, Baba.
We'll get Nasreen
Yay,
going.
Baba.
Oh yeah, we need to have a Nasreen
Okay.
play the guitar.
All right, there we go. Avatar Meher
Yay, Baba.
Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay.
Meher
Jai.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey. Hey, Peter, good to see you.
Sir. Hey, John.
Yay, Meher Baba.